is Kerri Day. I'm here at Longfellow's greenhouse to share with you a virtual class. We have missed everybody with our classes. Most of you may know me. I've taught classes to adults and the children here for about 14 years, and we decided we would do something virtual with you and see if we can't get some inspiration doing that. Today I'm going to show you how to do mini succulents in a terrarium. So some of the supplies that you will need that you can get here at Longfellow's is your glass terrarium to begin with. We're choosing one that doesn't have a flat bottom today, but one of the benefits of this long one is the height that we're going to get for the planting inside it. I've snagged from here a pot just so that I'll be able to set it down whenever I need to, since it doesn't have the bottom. If you choose something like this at home, obviously you could use even a coffee cup. That's simple. Now the other thing you'll need is some soil. Not much soil at all. You're only going to fill it just to the bottom, about an inch. So some soils you can use. We're going to be doing succulents. And there's a reason why we do succulents in a project like this. Succulents can live in soil that's just regular potting soil. They can also use cactus soil if you have any of that left at home. It doesn't even need any soil at all. There's some fun projects you can do where you can just hot glue them to the surface. And if anyone's ever grown cactuses at home and had them on their windowsill, as we all know, sometimes when you touch them, the leaves fall off, and those leaves will actually begin to grow babies sometimes. You'll be cleaning up and you'll see that you have these little sprouts of little babies. So really, they don't require a lot of soil, or their most important thing is their moisture that they get. But to make sure that they don't get too much moisture, which is another great reason why succulents work for such a small project. Now, we have a great selection here at Longfellow's for succulents. I've gone out and I've just picked two different things. You're not going to need much inside one of these containers. And then I also brought with me a pair of scissors because I'm going to show you two different ways that you could plant your plant in this container. I always tell people that when we do classes, the biggest thing you need is to have patience. A lot of these projects just take a little deep breath and we go at it. So don't be nervous about doing it. Don't think you're going to fail. And also, I always teach the aspect that you are making something living. So my job is to show you and teach you how to take care of that project as a living project. But of course, we have fun with all this and we make them into like a craft project, a scenery or something. And then that is what makes that project uniquely yours, what your styles are and your favorite little trinkets might be. So I'm going to make one for you with trinkets and everything, but obviously at home, I'm going to want you still to make it your way. So we'll start off by the part of it that is the living plants. Now, care for your succulents in choosing your succulents. You don't need many plants when you're talking about a container that is this big. You're going to need to figure out the space that's right inside here, because a lot of times I call these top buttons. So you can find succulents that have big buttons, but will they work in the project that you have? Or do you have to go with a lot of little ones? One of my favorite things that customers always do is they'll take one like this and they'll actually drape it out of it a little. And I think that's really cool, so I've adapted to that. So showing you what I've chosen and then my container, you'll be like, well, that is not going to fit. That's right. So this is where I'm going to show you two different ways that you can plant your plant. I'm also at this point going to show you the health of your succulents. It's important to know that a succulent is healthy when it has a nice little like shine on the top. This has some gray stuff on the top. If I touch it, it kind of like disappears. It is like a sweat that it has on the surface. This means it has plenty of water in it, that it can even have water just above the surface. When you're taking care of it at home, the biggest question people ask me is about watering. And I say you must talk to your plants. You must know what it looks like when it's healthy to know what it's going to look like when it's unhealthy. So an unhealthy succulent might lose that shine. It also might start to wrinkle a little because it's starting to use up the water that's inside it. Now remember, we're not having much soil of any sort in here. So watering is important, but remember, they don't like a lot of water. So again, it has to be a team effort between your plant and you, whether you have success on watering your plant. And the other thing I'm going to show you is tools you might want is a spoon, a small spoon, because getting the soil into this little container is hard. A little cup we've tried and that doesn't work either. So the first thing I'm going to do, this is just regular good old potting soil. So I'm putting in some with the spoon so it makes less mess. Takes a few tries here. But I won't get as frustrated if I take my time with this. I do tell people to leave it fluffy. Don't pat it down. Because when you're in here planting it, you're going to want to pat it down and tuck your plant in at that point. So leave it fluffy for now. You could have your container level to start with. Some people do that and then start to plant their plants. And then I've noticed a lot of people actually like to start it at an angle. And that way I'm going to put this plant, which is going to have soil with it, in the front. So I'm going to end up using up space in there for that soil. I'll need to put more soil. This one I'm going to show you how to actually cut it and plant it, and that will be fine for the back of it. So one of the things that will be difficult for me at this point is to keep my soil in the slanted. But again, I brought a pot here, so I should be able to set it down. I could even set it like this, so that's good. Now I'm going to plant the back of it first. That way I can get in here. So I told you I'm going to cut this. This is a great way if you do have succulents that have stretched and they're now long. It's a good way to restart them. All I need to do is cut a section. I'm going to want to plant that stem about ½ an inch into the soil. So I want my top that I like the looks of, and then about an inch down from that. So I'm going to cut this one right here. And then I'm going to, you can a lot of times just pull off the bottoms, but twist it or whatever to get it pulled off. Don't yank it because you might end up yanking the stem some more. And if you get too small, you're not going to end up with a piece that you like. So now I have this piece. And I think I can also take the other one and put it in here. So I'm going to take the other one. Again, you can also cut it with the scissors, but I feel that you have just as much success just pulling it off. Whenever you're dealing with these, hold them gently, because a lot of times when you touch them, they'll automatically fall off. So anything I'm doing, I'm trying very hard not to knock the good ones off. So now I'm going to try to set these in. There are some tricks. This is a nice opening so I can get my hands in there. And all I'm doing is pressing that stick end down into the soil because I've left it fluffy, remember. So I've got it in there. Once I have it in there, I am going to want to press the soil down. Now I'm locking that plant in place. Hopefully it's not going to move around on me. Again, if my fingers don't fit in there, if you're whole or whatever, take your spoon. You can use this end of your spoon for stuff. You can use the thinner end of your spoon for stuff. And just secure those plants down in there. They will make their own roots and they will begin to grow. Now another thing about succulents is they don't grow fast. So this is great. You would not want to use any tropical house plants, foliage plants, because you could never keep this wet enough for them because there's little soil, and also they're going to grow too fast and immediately your project is going to be full. So I've done that much so you can see in there. Now I'm going to set this down again. Always make sure you got a good place to set it down so it doesn't keep toppling what you've done. I'm then going to plant a succulent using the soil. Now remember I said you didn't even need soil, right? So I'm going to squeeze the bottom here. I'm going to take it out. Again, I'm holding it very, very easy on the bottom so I'm not knocking it. Now obviously I cannot get all of this soil in there, and that's okay. So that's when you can go ahead and remove almost all of the soil. You can also decide, is this too much to put in there? I don't think this is, but if it was, I'll show you because I can plant it in two. Usually you can separate something. And it might be that it's just easier if I separated it to plant both of them, because then I only have to deal with a small amount at a time. So you can see they don't have roots that go too deep or anything. I'm just getting most of the soil off. Now, again, don't get frustrated. I'm going to make a hole with my finger that I know is about the size of my roots. I might end up pushing my other ones around a little, but I don't want to be knocking them over. And I'm gonna flip it over, I'm gonna tuck it in, and now I wanna hold it down. And again, like I can't really get my fingers in there. I'm just gonna take my spoon and press some soil to the spot I had behind there. Now at this point, because I'm starting to press the soil down, I might actually want a little more soil in there. And that's what's good about this. You can always add soil. It's a lot harder to take away soil. So now I've got this much draping out. So now I need to make the decision, is that all I want, or do I want one more piece in there? And I actually think this is all I want, because the next step we do is actually decorating. Now I'll just remind people one last time, we've now planted it. It was that easy. I took my time. I didn't get frustrated. Now you're watering. We've put in dry soil, so we'll want to water this now. And you typically think of when it rains, we usually get a good rain, and then we don't get rain for a while. Your plants are happy. If it rained every single day for 2 weeks, your plants would not be happy. You're not looking to keep the soil at an even moisture. You actually want it to dry up and then re-moisten, and dry up and re-moisten. So some people also talk about they could spritz on top of your plant some water. I think you can, but I don't usually recommend that, because then your only source of watering is through the skin layer of it and not the roots of it. And obviously these new ones are gonna need to start making roots. So I still suggest that you put some water in there. Okay, so now I put on the table here some of the things that you can use for your next step. Now we're done the live plant stuff. You've learned about live plant, you know, take care of it. And so now we're gonna do the fun stuff that makes this more of a craft. So here at Longfellow, they sell lots of little tiny trinkets like this. And then they also sell several different types of stones or sand that you can use. Now, they also do some beautiful mosses that we can use. And when we do this, again, this is where it becomes you who's making it, and your tastes and your preferences. Some people like the look of the soil that's on it, and they don't want to add any rocks or anything like that. These ones are white. I'll show you them white. These ones here, brown. And of course the sand is gonna just be sand. Whenever you're gonna do the next step with these, you're definitely gonna want your spoon. So I gotta get my spoon back out. Now, also I wanted to show, again, I did not put very many plants in here, and that was because I still needed room to put trinkets in here. You could, however, do this project without trinkets at all, and then if you were doing that, stuff that with more plants, certainly. So what I'm gonna do in order to show you, I think what I'll do is do sand. Sand will work good for this. So I'm going to just use my spoon. Oh look, I've already kept this in. And I'm just gonna sprinkle it in. The sand is super easy, because this I'll just be able to shake this little glass container a little bit and it'll fall into place. Your rocks that you have, you might have to use the other end of your spoon and just push some to the spots you want. Any of the sand that if I do too much and it's on top of my plant, if it doesn't shake off when I move it a little, when I go to water it, there's a good chance it will come off at that point. And then if it's not coming off, I do want to remove it from it. So I'm going to shake it and make sure that I'm not. So like I have some sand on top of here because I don't want that planted under the soil, and the sand would be equivalent to soil. So now I'm going to try to get it off in some places. And so now I've got this look to the plant. So now it went from being very dark to very light in there. Just keep knocking it. You can also take a little, if you got a paintbrush, and you can just brush them in there. So I think I liked the look of this little girl. She looked good with the plants. So I'm just gonna, with my fingers, stick her in here. And I'm gonna need to press her down into the soil so that she doesn't move around in there. But then you can see now I've got the little cute little girl in there that adds to it. This is where you can make great gifts for people. So like this little cat was a birthday cat. So if you had a friend having a birthday, you could do that. If your friend loves chickens like we all do, you can make her chicken one or whatever while you're making your own, because this is a quick, easy project. Now, if you want to continue to add to this, that's when you can choose some type of moss. You can use lichen off of a tree. You can put an acorn in here, a pine cone in here, anything that represents more like living stuff in the forest, I think looks great. I love this. This is not the color most people would choose first, but I'll tell you, when you use this mustard color in with any of the plantings, it really accents the plant that you use. Now, if you're using moss, if it's not wet, it'll be very brittle and it will actually crumble. All you need to do is run it under the water really quick and it softens up, and then it's all squishy and it's very pliable to wherever you want it to go. It's also a good indicator when you have your planting done, whether or not this is super dry or not, because this will become very brittle. Inside here, you're going to have a lot of air circulating. So if there's moisture down here, this is staying moist. When there isn't moisture, it's going to start to dry up. So I like to have it in there for that reason too. See, now you can see, every time I'm going to want to keep setting my planter down. So remember, make sure you have something, because you'll be frustrated if it topples on you at this point. And I'm just going to put a couple pieces. Now I want to go way in back, can't reach it with my fingers, that's okay. Take my spoon, and I'm going to toss it in the back there. And I'm going to look inside here to see what it looks like, and I'm liking it. I don't want to go too much. I think I just want some accent pieces here and there. I really like that you can see like she's sitting in the sand, and I can see I could actually add a little more sand in there to really cover up the soil that I had. And she's really going to be sitting in the sand. So now I think I like a little bit of sand back here. So don't feel like you can't go back and adjust. This is your project, your thing. You keep looking at it. Look at it from the sides to see, because it's gonna hang and you're gonna be able to see the whole project. But there you go, done. So we're gonna go ahead and make just a couple more to show you how quickly you can make them. So I've got a couple more pots to set my product in so it won't go toppling. I picked out a couple more succulents, and I chose a big one. So I show you what a big one looks like. Tall one, love the tall ones. We're gonna reuse the rest of that. So I picked another, what I call a button on there. So I got my soil back out. Fill it with. Now I've done one, so my next one should be even easier, and I should be able to get it down packed here. Lots of room there. So the first one I'll do is the big one. Now this big one has babies coming out underneath. That's cool. It's always fun to see. This is well moistened. Again, I'm gonna take some of this off. Also, just the height alone here is too tall for what I'm doing, so I can scratch the bottom there and take some off of the bottom. She's beautiful and healthy. Look how shiny she is. So that's a good sign. And I've done one like this before. This button is so huge, right? What am I thinking? Well, I'm thinking that I'm actually gonna hang it out of it quite a bit. So when I do this, now I've decided, whoa, I need to have more soil in there. That's okay, that's how we do these projects. You go accordingly. Nobody knows what we're doing until we're doing it, right? Do that. I'm gonna bring some forward because I know I need to tuck some in. Set her in there. And again, here's what happens. Now I'm in trouble because I can't really get my hands in there. That's okay. I can shake down some of that soil, and then I can use my handy, it's hard to show when I'm looking at it and trying to show you. I can use my spoon to get in there. I'm gonna put a bunch more soil in the back. And again, I don't have to worry so much about the heights of this terrarium here, because my plant isn't even in it. Now, as long as that's gonna stay, now look, it's still moving on me, so then I've gotta still work with this to get it to stay. Pressing that down, pressing all the soil around it. And then I can press it. Be gentle, know what you can do and can't do with your plant. So this one here, I thought would be cool to start with the tall one in the back. So again, I hope you can see where I'm taking off most of this soil. This one just falls right off. Looking at the health of this plant, this one's fun. These are flowers that are gonna open up, so that's a fun one to watch. Don't wanna have too much. And I could pick it because it's still gonna be perfect in here. Oh, I forgot, let's see. Make a hole. This soil does move around, but I needed to make the hole. Now I tried to do it this way, and it didn't work. Now I gotta learn to come in this way. Just be patient. I can dig that hole down and keep sinking that down. Whatever you gotta do to get it in there and not be frustrated by it. So now it's coming in there. Here we go. If I want it a little bit further down, I'm gonna go way underneath it and remove some soil so I can push it down even more. And you can see it's in there. Pack it all around. I'm gonna set, I still wanna put a trinket in this one. So I'm gonna set my next plant off to the side, not in the middle, so that I have room for it. Try to push all that soil out of the way so I can get it down further. Now I'm gonna place it in. And I like that, and then I can just now move my soil around and do it kind of quickly, but now you can see inside there what that looks like. Now if I save room right up in that back corner, I'm gonna put that chicken in there. So I think I can still use this piece to drape out the front. This piece that I had left over. I'm gonna remove some more of the soil. Make the hole with my finger. Set it in there. Try to get the roots in there so they're not hanging outside that glass. Nobody will see it. Push some soil, tuck it down so that it stays where it is. Also, as you water, that soil will start to compress and really keep things in place. So now, if I show you, I got this. Now I want the chicken in there, and it's not really level. I'm just gonna add a little more soil over there. Pat it down to a flat spot, and then I can get the baby chicken in there. Now I didn't do any rocks or anything like that. I want to show you the differences. So this one I'm gonna leave just the soil. Make it so my chicken won't move around. And then there he is, he's peeking in there. And then I think I'd even, this one maybe leave plain and not put any moss or anything, because it's just enough. All right, so if I do something totally different in here, the rocks in, that will be different. I'm gonna take this round rocks. This will also help weigh down that plant that is hanging out. So I'm gonna drop it in. Okay, so we're putting more rocks in, and I've just decided to just go like this because now I can tip forward and shape those rocks right into place. I love it. There's tons of rocks in there. Now, as far as a trinket, I did have this little kitty cat left here, and it's still something I can stick in here, right past there, and prop the kitty cat up and turn it. If I can't do it with my fingers, you can even use a pencil or something, the end of that spoon or pencil. So now there's a little kitty cat peeking in there. And I have so much room now, there's more kitty cats. So I might go over and choose a couple more kitty cats, and there'll be a little thing of cats inside there. And I still have a gorgeous plant that's hanging out of it that will grow out of it. And it looks totally different than these other ones, but still super cool. So now that you've finished your project, you might want to know where to hang them, where to put them. So some suggestions would be, these are sun-loving plants, so they will like to be in a very brightly lit room. You do not want to put them too close to a window at this time. It's cold out, so it will reflect the coldness off of the window, off of this glass, and it can harm the plant in it. But if you just hang it out far enough, and again, something bright. Also remember that I've spoken about you knowing your plant. So if you put this in an area and it begins to stretch towards the window, then you might know it's looking to be closer to that window, and just adjust and move your project over. Thank you for coming to our virtual workshop.